So, dear students, I welcome you to this class. Okay. In previous class, we have seen bryophytes. General characters of bryophytes. Then, bryophytes includes liverworts and mosses and hornworts. We have seen the characteristics of those plants. Okay. So, bryophytes are non-vascular plants. They are thalid-like or thallus-like plant body. They have reproduce sexually. Then the alternate life cycle is sporophyte. Then the sporophyte produce spores which germinate into gametophyte. Alternation of generation found. Okay. Now, in this video, today we shall study another group of plants, namely Pteridophytes. The Pteridophytes are the first vascular land plants. What is the meaning of this word? I already told you the bryophytes are non-vascular plants. Means vascular tissues, the xylem and phloem. Xylem is water conducting tissue, whereas the phloem is food conducting tissue, absent in bryophytes, in algae also. Okay, that is why those plants are called, or those groups are called non-vascular plants. But listen carefully, pteridophytes are vascular plants. Vascular plants means the plant body of pteridophyte consists of the xylem and phloem. For the first time in the plant kingdom, the vascular tissues appeared in these plants. That is why pteridophytes are first vascular land plants. Means they are commonly found growing on land or moist soil. So that's all about the first meaning of first vascular land plants. Okay. Next. The pteridophytes includes horsetail, these plants. Also includes club mosses and ferns. Just I will quote you one example for each one. Club moss, Lycopodium, Selaginella are called club mosses. hostile. The sporophyte, it looks like a horsetail. That's why commonly known as horsetail. Equisetum is a good example for horsetail. Then ferns. Ferns, these are advanced pteridophytes. For example, adiantum is a fern. Nephrolipis is a fern. Teres is a fern. Okay. So pteridophytes includes horsetail like Equisetum, club mosses like Selaginella, Lycopodium, and mosses, that is different mosses. Then these are the first appeared vascular land plants containing xylem and the phloem. So what is the meaning of this sentence? These plants contain, or the plant body contain, vascular tissues, namely the xylem and phloem. As you already aware of that, xylem is a water conducting tissue. It conducts the water and mineral salts from roots to the aerial parts of the plant body. The main function of xylem is conduction of water and mineral salts. Then another vascular tissue, namely the phloem. The phloem conducts food from leaves to the different parts of the plant body. Okay, it means the pteridophytes in their plant body contain xylem and phloem. These two together called vascular tissues. Hence, pteridophytes are called vascular land plants because they are growing commonly on moist soil. So that's all about the first point. Next, we shall see the characteristics of pteridophytes. Pteridophytes commonly found growing on moist soil. The soil is moist. It is found at hill stations. That is such a condition. So hill station means Ooty, Kodaikanal, even our western Ghats. ನಾವೇನು ಧರ್ಮಸ್ಥಳಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ ಆಗ ಈ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೋಡಬಹುದು. So where they are growing? They are commonly growing in cool, moist, shady places. Very commonly found growing. some found growing on sandy soil. So that's all about their habitat ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ, ಮಾಯಿಸ್ಟ್ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಸಾಯಿಲು ತುಂಬ ಕೂಲಾಗಿರಬೇಕು, ನೆರಳಿರಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, it is the second point. Next, I told you some examples like hostile, equiditum, club moss, lycopodium, ferns. The dominant plant body is sporophyte. This is another important character. In previous class you have studied the bryophytes. The dominant plant body in bryophytes is a gametophyte. But in pteridophytes it is sporophyte. What is the meaning of sporophyte? Sporo, spores, phyton, plants. The plant or the plant body which produce spores is called sporophyte. We may ask a question like this. What is sporophyte? Define sporophyte. The plant body which produces spores is called sporophyte. The sporophyte is always diploid. It means it consists of two sets of chromosomes. That's why we have written 2n, diploid number. So, I will tell you, some of you may not know about the sporophyte and gametophyte like that. Okay, I will make it clear now. How many chromosomes are there in man? In a cell, 2n equals 46. 46 chromosomes ಹೇಗೆ ಬಂತು? 23 chromosomes from the mother and 23 chromosomes from the father. N plus N, 2n. This is the basic of the chromosome number in case of man. Like that, the dominant body is sporophyte. It is diploid. It contains, the plant body contains two sets of chromosomes, n plus n. Okay, it is another important character. See the diagram now, fern diagram is there. This sporophyte, if we examine carefully, it is differentiated into root, stem and leaves. In bryophytes, there is no differentiation of root, stem and leaves. So plant body is called thallus. But here it's not like that. In pteridophytes, the plant body is differentiated into root, that is root system, stem and leaves, shoot system. It consists of root system and shoot system. Okay, now next point ನೋಡೋಣ ಈಗ. If we examine the leaves of Pteridophytes, sometimes we may find two types of leaves. For example, in case of Selaginella, the leaves are, if they are very small, called microphylls. On the other hand, if the leaves are big, called macrophylls. The stem is covered with leaves, either macro or microphylls. Okay. ಹೀಗೆ ಒಂದು ಥರ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಎರಡು ಥರ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಕೋಪೋಡಿಯಂ, only one type of leaves are there. In Selaginella, two types of leaves are there, microphylls and macrophylls or megaphylls. Okay. Next, we shall see another point. I told you the plant body is sporophyte. This sporophyte, when reaches maturity, it always reproduces by asexual method. How? By producing the spores. Asexual reproduction takes place by the formation of spores. The spores. The spores are produced in sporangia, sporangium singular. During asexual reproduction, the spores are formed after meiosis. Okay, that's why the plant body is called sporophyte. See, sporangia bearing leaves are called sporophylls. Microsporophyll, megasporophyll, sporophylls. Okay. The sporophylls group together and forms what is known as the clone or strobiles. So sporophylls group together and forms cones or strobili. So far you have not come across this word. Okay. In bryophytes there is no question of cones or strobili. Now spores na tagondu ಮತ್ತೆ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. Okay. Look here now. The sporophyte always reproduced by asexual method by spores. These spores are produced in a bag-like structure. In a bag-like structure, we call sporangia. These many sporangia group together and forms a structure called sorus. Singular. Sori, plural. So these sporangia inside contains the spores. The sporangia bearing leaves are called sporophylls. Okay. Now, how ferns reproduce or pteridophytes reproduce? By asexually, by the formation of spores. The spores, when germinate, produce what is known as gametophyte. Okay. Another important point note ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. In case of Salaginella and Equisetum, Lycopodium, sporophylls group together and forms what is known as cones or strobili. Okay, ಹೊಸ ವರ್ಡು strobili ಎನ್ನರು. Now, example, Salaginella. Equisetum is commonly known as horsetail. Okay. Now, the spores liberated from the sporangium falls on a suitable soil, means moist soil, develops into a heart-shaped structure called gametophyte. It's also called prothallus. First form thallus. The prothallus develops into heart-shaped structure, gametophyte or prothallus. Okay, see the diagram also. Prothallus is haploid. Haploid means it always reproduce sexually. Prothallus produce sex organs during sexual reproduction. Antheridia are the male sex organs. Archegonia are the female sex organs. Okay. Antheridia, when reach maturity, produce the male gametes, sperms, which are multiciliate. And Archegonia produce the female gamete, namely the egg. Okay. Confusion beda. Prothallus sexual reproduction anna ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Sexual reproduction ಆದಾಗ Antheridia male sex organ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, Archegonia female sex organ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Antheridia sperms produce ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, Archegonia egg produce ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Okay. Next, for fertilization, water is essential. In gymnosperms, water is essential during fertilization ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ. Antheridia are ciliated to swim in water. Water is essential for fertilization also. The sperm, when fused with the egg of Archegonium, we call fertilization. Fertilized egg is called zygote. The zygote is diploid because sperm is N, egg is N. N plus N to N. Okay. So when sperm fertilizes the egg, zygote is formed. Zygote is diploid. Okay. This diploid zygote divide and redivide and ultimately forms what is known as sporophyte. Okay. Any confusion? Okay. Now, I told you during asexual reproduction, the spores are formed. The spores produced may be one type or two types. If the spores, all spores produced are similar, called homosporous. If the spores formed are of two types, heterosporous. A very important point for the examination. Homosporous. Give example for homosporous. Equisetum, Xylotum, Lycopodium. Xylotum is a very primitive pteridophyte. Then Lycopodium, we call them club mosses. Equisetum, horsetails. All these three are homosporous. Xylotum, Equisetum and Lycopodium. Okay. Now, heterosporous species are also there. Example, Selaginella, Solvinia, Marsilia, etc. Heterosporous species having two types of spores, microspores and megaspores. Microspores germinate into male gametophyte. The megaspore germinate into female gametophyte. Very important one. The male gametophyte, when reaches maturity, produce sperms. Female produce egg. On fertilization gives rise to zygote. The zygote directly develops into new plant body. Okay. It means in the life cycle of sporophyte, sporophyte produce gametophyte, gametophyte produce sporophyte alternatively. That is what we call alternation of generations present. Okay. See the diagrams of Selaginella. These diagrams are the textbook diagrams, NCERT book diagrams. First one is Selaginella. Second is Equisetum, we commonly known as horsetail. This is called Selaginella and Lycopodium called club mosses. And this plant, Nephrolepis, it is a fern. Then one more plant is there, Solvinia, it's also a fern. So these are some examples. Lycopodium, Selaginella, Equisetum, ferns, then ultimately the Selaginella plant. So that's all about general characters of plant pteridophytes. Okay. Now we shall see a brief outline classification. Coming to the classification, bryophytes are mainly classified into four classes. They are as follows. Class 1, Xylotopsida. The class name is Xylotopsida. It produces xylotum plant body. It is very primitive plant, xylotum. Then next class Lycopsida. It includes club mosses, Lycopodium and Salaginella, both together called club mosses. One more class is there, class Spinopsida, includes horsetail or equiditum. Then last class Pteropsida, includes highly advanced plants, ferns, teres, adianthum, Dryopteris is also a fern. Okay, that's all about today's class. If you have any doubts regarding today's explanation, you are always welcome. Make the doubts clear. Okay. So tomorrow we first PC students have what's known as Zoom class. ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಓದಿರ್ತೀರಿ, ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀರಿ. ಅದರ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಾದರೂ ಬಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರಿ. ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿರಿ, ನಾವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈಸಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಟುಡೇಸ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.